Jacob wasn't a bad person. He wasn't cruel. He wasn't intentionally toxic. But he was reactive. Whenever someone gave him harsh feedback, even constructive criticism, something inside him would flare up. His body tensed. His voice sharpened. Sometimes he lashed out. Other times, he shut down completely. And afterward, he always had an explanation. They were rude. They were unfair. They didn't understand him. Until one evening, his girlfriend Nicole, whom he trusted, didn't argue with him at all. She just changed the question. Nicole had seen this pattern repeat. Every conflict followed the same rhythm. Feedback arrived. Emotions spiked. Defense kicked in. Blame followed. Over time, people stopped being honest with him. Friends chose silence over confrontation. Colleagues softened their words or avoided him entirely. Jacob, meanwhile, developed a quiet belief. People just don't know how to talk properly. One night, after a tense argument, Nicole didn't defend herself. She asked him calmly, "Have you ever heard of the shadow self?" Jacob laughed it off. "Sounds like some spiritual thing." Nicole shook her head. "It's psychology, and I think it's running your life." The idea of the shadow comes from Carl Jung. Jung believed that the human personality is not just what we show the world. There's another part, hidden, suppressed, unconscious. The shadow contains traits we were told were unacceptable, emotions that got us punished or rejected, desires that conflicted with who we were supposed to be, anger, envy, insecurity, neediness, weakness. As children, when these parts caused pain or disapproval, we didn't delete them, we buried them. But here's the disturbing part. The shadow doesn't stay quiet. It waits, it watches, and it looks for leaks. Jung warned us, what you repress doesn't disappear. It expresses itself indirectly, through overreactions to small things, defensiveness that feels out of proportion, projection, seeing in others what you refuse to see in yourself, sudden emotional explosions that feel like they came out of nowhere. The shadow often disguises itself as righteousness. The person who says, "I just hate fake people," might be repressing their own dishonesty. The one who says, "I never get angry," is often the most terrifying when they finally do. Shadow work isn't about becoming darker, it's about becoming whole. When you acknowledge your capacity for anger, it stops controlling you. When you admit your insecurity, it softens. When you accept your neediness, it stops leaking out as manipulation. Jacob didn't have an anger problem. He had an unintegrated shadow. Shadow work is the practice of turning toward these hidden parts. Not to destroy them, but to understand and integrate them. Jung believed psychological growth isn't about becoming good. It's about becoming whole. Shadow work means observing your emotional triggers, questioning intense reactions, owning traits you deny in yourself, accepting that you're capable of more than your self-image allows. As Jung famously said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Nicole told Jacob gently, "You don't need fixing, you need awareness." A few days later, Nicole gave Jacob a workbook by best-selling author Adeline Voss. The book was called Carl Jung-based Shadow Work Journal and Workbook for Deep Healing. No pressure, no instructions, just try this honestly. Jacob started writing. One prompt asked, "What behaviors in others trigger strong emotional reactions in you?" Jacob listed being corrected publicly, being questioned, being told he's wrong. Then came the follow-up. How do these traits show up in you? That question stopped him cold. Another exercise asked him to describe someone he strongly disliked. He wrote, arrogant, condescending, always needs to be right. The next line asked, where do you behave like this without noticing? His chest tightened. Slowly, the answers began to surface, and he wrote down, I get defensive when I'm challenged. I try to prove I'm right, even if deep down I know I'm wrong. Sometimes I act like I'm superior to others, especially when I feel insecure about myself. As he reread the words, he felt exposed. This exercise, as simple as it was, had forced him to confront something he had buried for years. Jacob's hand hovered over the next line, and then he wrote, I need to be kinder to myself. I need to allow myself to be wrong sometimes, to not have all the answers. I need to accept that it's okay to not be perfect. Then the hardest prompt, when did you first learn this trait was dangerous or unacceptable? Suddenly, a memory surfaced. Jacob at 12 years old, a teacher mocking his wrong answer in front of the class. Laughter, heat, shame. That day, he decided something unconsciously. I will never be wrong again. The breakthrough didn't happen while writing. It happened weeks later. In a meeting, a colleague corrected Jacob. Same trigger, same tone. The familiar surge of anger rose. But this time, something new happened. Jacob noticed it. A thought appeared. This isn't about now. This is old. For the first time, he didn't react. He watched the anger instead of becoming it. That was the moment of shadow integration. Not suppression, not self-control. Awareness. Shadow work didn't make Jacob calm overnight, but it made him conscious. He began to see patterns. Anger was protection. Defensiveness was fear. Blame was avoidance. Slowly, his reactions softened. He asked questions instead of attacking. He apologized without collapsing into shame people noticed. Feedback stopped feeling like an attack on his worth. It became information. The shadow didn't disappear. It stopped running the show. Most people live their entire lives inside their shadow, without realizing it. Here's what shadow work teaches, and how you can apply it. Your triggers are not accidents. If something repeatedly provokes a strong emotional reaction, it's not random, it's revealing. Ask yourself, why does this bother me so much? What part of me feels threatened here? What am I protecting? Triggers are entry points, not flaws. Ask, where does this live in me, even subtly? The shadow often shows up in what we judge most harshly, not because we are bad, but because we're unaware. Shadow work doesn't ask you to be better. It asks you to see more clearly. The moment you can observe an emotion without acting on it, you've already changed. That pause is freedom. People who've done shadow work stop saying, I would never do that. They say, I'm capable of that, and I'm watching it. They stop saying, I'm not an angry person. They say, I can get angry, and I know what triggers it. They stop saying, I'm nothing like them. They say, there are conditions under which I could become them. This makes them less reactive, less morally rigid, more compassionate, more grounded. They don't feel superior, they feel responsible. If you find yourself overreacting, feeling misunderstood, repeating the same conflicts, the problem may not be the world. It may be the parts of you that never got heard. So here's how to actually use this. Shadow work doesn't require therapy sessions, journals the size of novels, or fixing your personality. It starts with micro-honesty. The next time you feel a surge, anger, jealousy, defensiveness, don't suppress it. Silently label it. This is anger. Naming creates distance. Distance creates choice. Not everything triggers you equally. Notice the patterns. Those are not coincidences. They're your curriculum. When you judge someone harshly, ask one disruptive question. What would it mean if this also lived in me? You don't have to like the answer. You just have to stay curious. Stop asking, what kind of person am I? Start asking, what am I capable of under pressure? That question builds responsibility instead of ego. You don't need to act better. You need to wait one extra second before reacting. That pause is where integration happens. As Carl Jung believed, the goal isn't to be good, it's to be whole. Because the parts of you that scare you the most are often the parts holding your strength. If this resonated, sit with it. Don't rush to agree or disagree. And remember, the shadow doesn't disappear when you ignore it. It disappears when you see it. That's the work.